Xiao Cui is a short story written in classical Chinese by Pu Songling, a novelist of the Qing Dynasty. It is part of his collection Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio. In the world of ghosts and spirits, Xiao Cui is an imaginative creation of the author, a new type of woman and personality. Thus, she becomes a literary innovation brought to life by the author's imagination. Xiao Cui's character to a great extent disrupts traditional notions of women's lifestyles, moral values, and thought patterns. This disruption strongly challenges feudal ethics, female virtue, and Confucian doctrines. Her fundamental qualities and distinct traits can be summarized as embracing the philosophy of playing life, where it seems that the essence of her entire existence is the act of playing. Wang Taiking, a native of the Jiangxi Zhejiang region, had a childhood experience that stayed with him. Once, during his restful day in bed due to illness, the sky suddenly darkened with thunder and lightning. A creature slightly larger than a cat jumped onto his bed and nestled beside him. It refused to leave and stayed with him until the storm cleared and the creature left. Only then did he realize it wasn't a cat but something else, which terrified him. He called out to his brother from across the room. Upon hearing the story, his elder brother joyfully said, "Brother, you will definitely become a high-ranking official in the future." This was a fox seeking refuge from the thunderstorm. As prophesied, he eventually achieved success, passing the imperial examination and rising from county magistrate to imperial censor. Wang Taiking had a son named Yuanfang, who was intellectually challenged. Despite being 16 years old, he couldn't distinguish between male and female. Due to his condition, no one in the village was willing to marry their daughters to him. This situation caused Wang Taiking much distress. One day, an old woman arrived with a young girl, claiming they wanted to marry the girl to Wang's family. The girl was charming and beautiful, and the whole family was delighted. They asked the old woman for her name, and she introduced herself as Mrs. Yu, with her daughter named Xiao Cui, who was already 16. When discussing the dowry, the old woman stated, "With me, this child barely gets enough to eat. Once she lives in this spacious and luxurious house, with maids to serve her and delicacies to eat. As long as she's content, I'll be at ease. This isn't like selling vegetables. Why haggle?" Mrs. Wang was overjoyed and warmly welcomed them. The old woman introduced her daughter to Wang Taiking and his wife, instructing Xiao Cui to serve them well before leaving for a few days, promising to return later. Although Wang Taiking offered to send them off with horses, the old woman declined, claiming their home wasn't far. Xiao Cui didn't show any signs of sadness or reluctance as they left. Instead, she immediately started exploring and preparing to work. She was generous in nature, which pleased Mrs. Wang. After a few days, the old woman didn't return as promised. Mrs. Wang asked Xiao Cui about her home, but she feigned ignorance. In response, Mrs. Wang arranged another courtyard for the newlyweds. Initially, relatives ridiculed the fact that Wang Taiking had married his son to a girl from a poor family. However, when they saw Xiao Cui's intelligence and beauty, they were astonished and stopped gossiping. Xiao Cui was clever and knew how to please her in-laws. Wang Taiking and his wife were especially fond of her and were careful not to let her notice Yuanfang's condition. Xiao Cui appeared carefree and often played, making balls from cloth and kicking them around. She would then send Yuanfang and the maid scurrying to fetch the ball, leaving them exhausted. One day, Wang Taiking accidentally got hit in the face by one of these balls. Furious, he threw a stone at Yuanfang, hitting him. This incident angered him greatly. Later, a conflict arose between Wang Taiking and another local figure, Wang Gaijian. They lived in the same lane but had a long-standing feud. When it was time for the triennial government assessment, Wang Gaijian saw an opportunity to undermine Wang Taiking's position as the governor of Henan province. However, Wang Taiking cleverly used Xiao Cui's playful nature to create a comical scenario that led Wang Gaijian to believe that an important official was visiting Wang Taikang's residence for secret discussions. This effectively prevented Wang Gaijian from plotting against him. One day, a letter meant for Wang Taikang was mistakenly delivered to Wang Gaijian's house. Thinking it was a chance to gain leverage, Wang Gaijian sought a large sum of money from Wang Taikang. Fearing the consequences, Wang Taikang refused. Wang Gaijian persisted and even visited Wang Taikang's house. Unaware of the situation, Wang Taikang struggled to find his official robes. At this moment, Xiao Cui addressed Yuanfeng in imperial regalia, pretending he was a high-ranking official. She then confronted Wang Gaijian, who was taken aback. Misinterpreting the situation, he left, and Wang Taikang learned about the ruse afterward. The story portrays the clever and resourceful nature of Xiao Cui, who managed to defuse a potentially dangerous situation and protect her family using her wit and creativity. Wang presented his accusations to the emperor, revealing Wang Taikang's alleged rebellion with evidence of a dragon robe and imperial crown. The emperor, surprised, examined the items and discovered that the so-called imperial crown was made of sorghum straw, and the dragon robe was a tattered piece of yellow cloth. Enraged, the emperor scolded Wang for falsely accusing an innocent person. The emperor then summoned Yuanfeng, who was revealed to be a simpleton upon inspection. The emperor laughed and remarked, "Can such a fool be an emperor?" Yuanfeng was placed under the care of the judicial authorities. Wang later accused Wang Taikang's household of harboring supernatural beings. Officials interrogated the servants and maids in Wang's household, but they all denied the existence of any supernatural beings, attributing it to the antics of a mentally disturbed daughter-in-law and a feeble-minded son who played around all day. The neighbors also echoed this sentiment. After due investigation, Wang's false accusations were exposed, and he was sentenced to exile in Yunnan. Since then, Wang Taikang began to see Xiao Cui as extraordinary. In her absence, he pondered whether she might be a celestial being due to her mother's mysterious departure. Wang's wife was sent to inquire, but Xiao Cui simply laughed and gave no answer. After a while, Wang Taikang was promoted to a higher position. Despite his age of over 50, he worried about not having any grandchildren. 3 years after their marriage, Xiao Cui and Yuanfeng still slept in separate beds each night. Wang's wife, annoyed by this, had Yuanfeng's bed removed and instructed him to share a bed with Xiao Cui. However, Yuanfeng complained that Xiao Cui placed her feet on his belly every night, making it hard for him to breathe and expressing reluctance to pinch her thighs. One day, Yuanfeng saw Xiao Cui bathing and wanted to join her. Xiao Cui laughed and asked him to wait. After her bath, she poured hot water into a large tub, helped Yuanfeng undress and assisted him into the tub with the help of maids. However, Yuanfeng felt uncomfortable and began to suffocate due to the heat. Xiao Cui ignored his pleas and covered him with a blanket. Later, when they checked on him, he had died from the heat. Xiao Cui remained calm, carefully attended to his body, and informed Wang's wife of the accident. Wang's wife was furious, blaming Xiao Cui for her son's death. Xiao Cui responded with a smile and a remark that having such a foolish son was worse than not having one at all. Later, Yuanfeng unexpectedly regained consciousness, leaving everyone astonished. Over time, Wang Taikang regretted his actions. Yuanfeng's health improved, and his mental condition improved as well. Wang's wife, desperate to atone for her wrongs, visited Xiao Cui, seeking her forgiveness and asking her to return to their home. However, Xiao Cui declined, proposing that her parents should receive the care they deserved. She chose to stay in the garden and cared for by Wang's original servants. Xiao Cui continued to urge Yuanfeng to remarry, as she could not bear children. One day, Xiao Cui told Yuanfeng that she would transform into the appearance of the daughter from the Zhang family so that he could find solace with a new wife. She left him with a token as a farewell. Eventually, Yuanfeng did remarry a woman from the Zhang family. On his way back to their garden, He unexpectedly encountered Xiao Cui in the form of two young women, playing and talking. He realized that Xiao Cui had transformed herself to bring him comfort. Yuan Fang was overjoyed, and his new wife resembled Xiao Cui, bringing him solace. This tale illustrates the enduring bond between Yuan Fang and Xiao Cui, even beyond the limitations of mortality. It showcases the depths of celestial beings' emotions and their ability to transcend the norms of the world.